Hi, this is Linda Shea with Drilling Contractor. I'm at the 2022 IADC International Well Control Conference in Oslo, Norway, and I'm joined today by Jensen with Chevron. Jared, thank you for being here.
Of course, Linda, it's good to be here with you.
So you gave a presentation at the conference today about a new report from the IOGP report 646 that was published earlier this week. Can you tell us what were the goals of this study?
Absolutely. So, Report 646 set out to find out what advantages we got out of switching our well control training from an in person format to a virtual format in response to the COVID-19 pandemic. We'd long talked about the possibility of switching technologies in our well control training space, but had never really tried it out. And the pandemic kind of forced us to do it. So, it was a good opportunity to study what had happened. We wanted to see if there was any value to the new format of training, if any, characterize lessons learned, vulnerabilities that might exist to our training and competency models if we switched from in-person training, and then make recommendations to the industry with respect to what we should do next.
And can you tell us what were some of the key findings from this report?
Certainly. So the most important finding we found was that fundamentally there was very little change in the performance on examinations or on simulator training for personnel going through the virtual training courses as opposed to the in-person training courses. So that leads us to believe that the training format largely doesn't make as much difference as we might have thought. You can get just as good training in a virtual environment as you can in an in-person environment, as long as the instructors have formatted the training correctly. What we did find was that less experienced individuals who maybe were taking well control for the first time or were upgrading to a new higher level of certification benefited more from the interaction of an in-person environment. This was not terribly unexpected because a lot of education theory says that when you're acquiring new skills or new knowledge, you tend to learn in a little bit better in a classroom type format that's more traditional. But that when you're fortifying training or you're preparing your skills for on-the-job experiences, for example, that the interaction and the self-motivated learning that can happen between adults in pretty much any environment, including virtual training, is what really matters.
So would you say you found widespread support for continuing virtual type of training even after the pandemic?
Absolutely. About 80% of survey respondents to the IOGP survey said that they would favor a hybrid approach that incorporated elements of both in-person and virtual training. The biggest concern that they held was that the virtual experience needs to preserve their ability to interact with other learners and to continue to learn across basins and across companies to maintain that well-controlled competency that the industry so badly needs.
And any key recommendations from the report that you'd like to highlight?
Certainly. So the major recommendations are that we should adopt some level of virtual training to create a hybrid learning environment for our industry. Less experienced individuals should remain in an in-person classroom environment for their first well-controlled school, either as initial personnel or as an upgrade to a new higher level of qualification. And the last one is that we did see that there were widespread complaints about infrastructure, bandwidth, network connectivity, things like that. And so we do recommend that companies make a focused effort on how to invest on network connectivity for their workers, either by bringing them into centralized training locations associated with their offices where they can connect to a remote instructor, or perhaps providing some kind of stipend that would allow them to upgrade their network infrastructure at their home or at their local offices.
Well, thank you, Jared, for joining us and for sharing these insights into well-controlled training and how we should prepare for the future.
Absolutely, Linda. I appreciate you having me today.
And thank you for joining us on drillingcontractor.org. You can download the new report on the IOGP website. Thank you.